Well, I certainly think that one thing that is absolutely going to be a storyline is pretty simple. It's just going to be, can the Kansas City Chiefs game plan to beat the 49ers defense? More specifically, how will Andy Reid game plan to beat the 49ers defense? I think that Andy Reid, as we all know, he's one of the more creative play callers in NFL history, honestly. I mean, he comes up with such creative play calls so consistently. He's done it for his entire career, so there's definitely logic to think that, especially against the pretty basic coverage that the 49ers run, that absolutely he can come up with some clever play calls to try to beat them. So, like, first things first, if you follow my channel for long enough, or just if you watch a lot of film or follow some other good film breakdown channels, you probably know what the 49ers tend to do, but if you don't, this play will be a good example of just what the 49ers tend to do and also the best way to probably beat it. What you see on the screen is a cover 3 zone. That's basically what they like to do a lot. It's a lot of cover 3 zone. This is what they'll do for a large percentage of their snaps. And so the best way to beat it would be to have a receiver run a route like that. I mean, there's definitely a couple of other ways you can beat it. You can try to find some zone busters in the middle of the field. You can try to go deep. There are things you can do, but the reason why this route works so well is because, as you see right when the ball is snapped, you look at the corner there, and his body is completely facing the wrong way right here. So there is going to be a Redskin who can try to make this play, whereas his assigned man is just not in position to make this play, and he actually ends up dropping it, so it doesn't matter. But that's kind of what the 49ers do, is especially with their corners, they'll bail very easily. Their corners are very much trying to not get beat deep. That's part of the cover 3, is you have a corner on each side who's designed to cover deep. So your job is to make sure you don't get beat deep. It's okay if you get beat shallow. You just don't want to allow a big play to happen. So they do an okay job at that. But one thing that definitely is notable is the fact that the Kansas City Chiefs love to beat teams by going deep. That's one of the things that they do so frequently. So you think that matchup-wise, this might actually be a perfect situation for the 49ers, They don't get beat deep. Kansas City thrives on those deep passes. Now Kansas City might have to dink and dunk their way down the field, which is something they tend to not like to do. However, I went back and watched a lot of games where they went up against teams that would run a lot of base 3, cover 3 zone defenses, and I think that this play is actually a good play of showing that they can absolutely game plan to beat cover 3 zone. More specifically, Andy Reid, he comes up with these plays that are they're just smart, they're just fun and clever. So it's a cover 3 zone that you see on the screen. And first things first, they're going to have a receiver run that route right there, which if you're looking at it on paper, you're saying this is not a great route. It's going to cut right into a middle of a gap in coverage. There will be a linebacker in the area, so this route seems like it shouldn't make too much sense. However, then what they're going to do is they're going to have a halfback run out to block that edge rusher right there, and Mahomes is going to actually roll out to the bottom half of the screen. And this is going to be very key because watch what happens right when the ball is snapped. So there is a linebacker who's in the area as we expected. He's kind of covering up the receiver who's running in what was his zone and coverage. But now the exception is that if you look at Mahomes, he could potentially run and gain some yards that way. So for a Charger, you kind of are in a tough spot right here where you want to stay back and make sure you defend against the pass, but also if you do that, now Mahomes can run for some yards. So you want to run up and try to tackle Mahomes, but if you do that, then Mahomes can throw over you. And also, if you don't run over to try to make a play on Mahomes, now he has plenty of time. He could potentially even find somebody else to throw the ball to. So basically, there is just no winning at this point. So Mahomes is able to run over, he's able to hit a receiver, pick up a first down, and that's just kind of what Ried can do, honestly. It's just his ability to find ways to get guys open. Even if maybe the coverage is a good coverage against his typical system, he doesn't really have a typical system. He'll game plan against any system to try to find a way to get guys open. He's very good at that. And this play will be another good example of it. It's once again going to be a cover 3 zone, and for Kansas City, what they're going to do is they're going to have a receiver run that route right there. So again, just looking at it on paper, what's the significance of this route? What's the point of this route? And the point of the route is that the cornerback who's in charge of covering the bottom left-hand corner of the screen will probably move closer to the middle of the field because why wouldn't you? There's a receiver running in that direction. His job is usually to take away anybody in that area. So with a receiver running in that area, but then moving over a little bit, that can move the cornerback over and can allow for some separation, which is very key because Travis Kelce is going to be running that route right there. So the idea basically the cornerback runs up, Travis Kelce runs to the outside of him, he can potentially get open. That's what's going to happen right when the ball is snapped. Receiver cuts over to the middle. Definitely that Chargers player, he's running up to the top half of the screen. This part of the play working out very well. And now you look over there. Now this is Travis Kelce. And also, you do notice that there is another Charger who's sort of somewhat realized this. He's trying to stay back with Kelce. So this is good. This is what you have to do if you're a defense going up against the Chiefs. It's basically what you have to do if you are a base zone defense, is you have to be aware of your surroundings. You see that there's a zone buster here. He's going to try to stay back with Kelce, try to keep pace with Kelce. But the problem with that is it's just so difficult to keep pace with Kelce. Kelce's able to outrun him. Mahomes makes a perfect throw, and it's like, what do you do at that point? Because it's not just that Andy Reid is a smart play caller, but it's also with the fact that Andy Reid understands the fact that he has a very talented team with very talented players. So even if a defense like the Chargers realized what was going on, made a good read on the play, and did everything they could do, you're still giving your players a favorable matchup, and all Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes need is just 1 inch to connect with each other. I mean, Kelce's a great receiving tight end, one of the best in the NFL. Mahomes is one of the best quarterbacks, if not the best quarterback in the NFL right now. Those guys can link up, and that's what Andy Reid can do, is give them, just make things easier for them, basically. You know, he makes things easier for those two guys. He makes things easier for his entire offense, and that's a huge way they're able to be successful. It's just coming up with these creative plays. You know, sometimes we like to watch a team like the Ravens, for example, who tend to just run like 6 or 7 plays for the most part, and then they branch off a few creative ones here and there. And I think those are easier to understand because it is just like a very simple system, whereas the Andy Reid system, it's very different. You won't see the same thing happening over and over again. You won't see the same play happening. They don't do the same 6 or 7 things. It's almost like they have a new game plan every week. And that's because sometimes they do have a new game plan, or at least they have a lot of new plays. They seemingly run plays that they would never run in any other game on certain games just because they understand who they're going up against. So that's part of what makes Andy Reid so successful. It's part of the reason that he's always had great offenses under his tenure, and it's part of the reason why he's now gone to 2 Super Bowls, although, again, of course, the thing that has to be mentioned is he still has yet to win it, but it's not because of a lack of being able to call up creative plays, that's for sure. And like watch, this one's another one. It's very similar to the last play, but there is a key difference. What's going to happen is that, again, cover 3, and then the receiver on the bottom half of the screen is just going to run a go route. So this time it will push the defender who's in charge of covering that zone further deep. But then what they're actually going to do is they're going to have a back in the game. He's going to be the one who's going to run over underneath like that, which is very interesting because, you don't expect a back like that who's lined up in the backfield to be running a deep route. That doesn't happen very often, so it's not something that's really in the Chargers' heads right now. So, again, just getting a little creative with it, being smart, makes a lot of sense. And if you look after the ball is snapped, it is working out perfectly. The first Kansas City player did a great job of pushing that Charger defender who is deep, further deep, and now at this point, I mean, you look, another Kansas City player is cutting to the bottom half of the screen, but the Charger in the area hasn't quite realized what's going on yet. He's looking back at Mahomes. At this point, you got to just sort of look at the receiver, try to make sure that you knock the play away, but he's just not going to be able to do that because he's not yet able to realize what's going on, which is understandable. I mean, it's very difficult to figure out what's going on in real time. It's a lot easier when you sort of have a second to digest it. You don't even have a second. You have to make your decisions quickly. He was not able to, which leaves a big window for Mahomes to make that throw. So, I mean, yeah, those are just some of the examples of what Andy Reid will bring to this table. That's just part of what he can do. Very creative play caller. I mean, again, I'm not exactly reinventing the wheel here with that take. We all know Andy Reid is a creative play caller, but I think this video will kind of show a little bit of, okay, that's what you should expect if you are, going to watch the Super Bowl, which I'm assuming you would. It'd be kind of weird if you missed it. But yeah, that's what you should expect in this Super Bowl. Just things like that. It seems like that's what's probably going to happen. I really do think that this could honestly end up being a huge point of Andy Reid's legacy. I mean, again, not really reinventing the wheel here with this take, but I do think that if Andy Reid can get a Super Bowl, then there's no doubt about it, he's a Hall of Famer. He's won all these games, he has all these accomplishments. All he needs is the Super Bowl ring, well, it's right in front of him. All he has to do is beat the 49ers, which is definitely no easy task, but I personally have plenty of faith in him. I think that he can at least do his part on offense. The question will be, I think, in a large part, will the defense be able to hold up? But it should be a fun game. You know, I could definitely see this one coming down to the wire, but we'll see. Should be interesting. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.